Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Usually I'm a little more amped up. I'm still pretty amped up because it's the Buccateers episode. I'm always happy to be here alongside Cody G. You never know if a cat bumbles in. Bucko said he might be here. Unfortunately, Stunna cannot join us tonight, buddy. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing good. We're here to recap the season, the playoffs, the regular season, everything in between that happened in 2021, the good, the bad, the players, the personnel, the coaching, everything. And then we're here to talk what's going on right now too with coaches, executives, players. It's a wild time to be a Bucs fan right now. It was a whirlwind of emotions last week, and this off season is going to probably be as crazy as that game was, given the executives getting interviewed, the coaches getting interviewed, the coaches that or the assistants that those coaches getting interviewed may drag with them if they get jobs, players leaving, two of the best all time, perhaps retiring between Gronk and Brady. Also, I'll say three. I should throw Sue in there. Frick it. Call it four with JPP. There's just a lot riding the wave right now. So last season was awesome. We had to enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I think Cody enjoyed it as well. We both went to a lot of games. If you put them together, how many we went to, it was quite the amount. And we had a blast at all of them, as much as every Bucs fan has and every Bucs fan did this season. The crew was tremendous, and it was honestly a blast to be at as many games as I could. Cody, although the season's over, it was a fun season to me. I went to the Bills game, the Colts game, the Dolphins game, Titans preseason game. All those were great times, and all the moments on television as well were great times, pretty much besides the Saints games. But if you were at those games, especially the one at home, that's still a fun game to be at because it's still history seeing Tom Brady play.
Yeah, it's obviously a sad ending, but this has been a fun 2 years. You got Mike breaking records, the touchdowns, Tom Brady, the yards, the touchdowns, Mike consecutive season with 1,000 yards. I hope it's not over as far as Tom Brady, but if it is, we'll look back on this time as one of the best times to be a Bucs fan. It's been a wild ride.
This 2 years of being a Bucs fan, I still never will forget the day where the news broke that Tom Brady has agreed to sign with the Bucs or come to the Bucs, and I'm like, dude, like I was amped, but I'm like, until he signs that contract, until he puts the pen to paper, I'm not believing this. Like, I'm not believing it. And then remember, there was talk. You had your freaking idiots like Florio pumping out articles. Oh, with COVID, will Tom Brady even ever play a game for the Buccaneers? Oh, will Tom Brady even ever play a snap for the Buccaneers? And you had media freaking out. Oh my goodness, Tom Brady's never going to play down for the Bucs. It's for jersey sales. Bunch of idiots. Look at what ended up happening. First year, Brady, boom, Super Bowl. We were healthy. We had the band together, everything. This year, boom, on the path to perhaps Super Bowl. Get a little unhealthy. You have the wacko and nut job freak out Antonio Brown. He did his thing, hopping off the field like a freaking jag off. And then we were able to overcome, right? Halftime of that Jets game kind of reminded me of halftime of that Vikings game, Super Bowl season. Halftime of the Jets game comes along. We end up winning. Cyril Grayson, unsung hero. A couple weeks before that, Perriman, unsung hero. And then the next couple of weeks, we get victories as well. Carolina a couple times. So 3-game winning streak to end the year, then beating up on Philly in the playoffs, man. That was a hell of a playoff game to watch. It was just really fun football. And then the Rams, man, whirlwind of emotions. Sad overall, sad how it started, sad how it ended, but things got hot and heavy there in the fourth quarter for a minute. And Cody, what say you, man? I don't know about you, but like I was there were times in the game where I wanted to punch my TV. Then at the end, I was going crazy after that extra point. But then I think you said it in the group chat. You're like, man, there's still a decent amount of time left on the clock. Next thing you know, the clock struck zero on this season for the Bucs.
Yeah, that was an absolutely just a wild game. Like you said, roller coaster of emotions, up, down. It just this team, we have a winning mentality now. We're no longer like like they kept fighting like that 2 years ago. A game like that, we would have gotten blown out. They would have been 40 6 or something like that. So I don't know. I love the fight in this team. Love how they came back. Obviously hate how it ended, but Rams are a good football team. We're down. I mean, so many people. Tristan Wirfs was huge. Our offensive line was terrible that day. And then, we were down I don't even remember all the wide receivers. Our wide receiver 2 through 5 or something like that. We had practice squad guys out there.
And like you said yesterday, Wellesley was banged up too.
Yeah. And
everyone calling for Wells' head, not saying he played a great game, but the man was a warrior, played his ass off injured. To me, there's a couple other Bucs whose head should be on the line before him. That's just me.
Yeah. It's Wells is a backup. He's on, they had Aaron Donald in his normal spot, and Ali Marpet was working him. So they moved him, which was smart of them, but they moved him defensive end. He was, I don't know. And it's not like Wells. Aaron Donald, he eats everybody up. A backup tackle who's coming off an injury, got injured again in that game. There's just only so much you can do.
And Wells kind of did this team a favor last year. He was brought back on a really cheap deal. Hopefully, I'm honestly in favor of bringing him back on a cheap contract again, keep signing him to these one-year cheap deals because he's versatile to the point of he could play left tackle, right tackle. And even though you don't feel comfortable, you could stick him inside. He's played the extra tight end package. He's pretty much played everywhere just about. And Donnie chimes in saying, I blame Antonio Brown for our loss. Listen, that guy, he's going to fade into irrelevancy. He thinks he's staying relevant by doing all this stuff, Antonio Brown. But, that let him fade into the dark. And Daniel Williams says Tom comes back to the 813. Cody, I know nobody could read into the mind of Tom. I know it's still early, but we got to address it sometimes on this pod. What say you for Tom Brady coming back to the 813?
He has said repeatedly that his goal is to play till 45. He's still signed for one more year, so I think he's coming back. Obviously, like you said, that's just a guess, but just going by what he said, I think he's going to come back. I do think, re-signing guys like Godwin, what we do in the draft free agency will go a long way. If we lose, a ton of people, not saying he wouldn't come back, but, say we re-sign Jensen, Godwin, and Lenny. I think that's going to make him want to come back, even more likely. And I think he knows. We were 30 seconds away from being right back in the NFC Championship game, down half our offense, with half our offense out the game. So he's at the top of his game. He's still at the top of his game. He's not slipping at all. So I would be surprised if he didn't come back for at least one more year.
And we had 3 guys named to Pro Bowl alternates, Devon White, Mike Evans, and Winfield Jr. and Tom Brady shared on his Instagram story, LFG, let's fucking go, with all exclamation points. He's still amped for these guys, man. His heart's still in it. He's still liking all these guys' posts, commenting on all these guys' posts. I know everyone is freaking out now, like I heard on Beckles and Rutcher, although I love the hell out of him, Ian Beckles. His halftime heat on Monday was Tom Brady has a 90% chance of coming back. He doesn't even want to talk about it. Now today he's talking, after Gronk said he'd retire right now, I'm getting a little nervous. It's like, well, a couple days after a long, grueling year with 17 games on the schedule, of course a guy like Gronk who gets beat up and hit around is going to say that. That's going to change in a couple weeks.
I think I know Gronk said he would consider playing even without Brady, but if Brady comes back, Gronk's coming back. There's not a doubt in my mind on that. So, I think as long as Brady comes, you also get Gronk. So,
and I honestly think Gronk said that to try and get Brady back a little more too, in my opinion. I'd play if Brady doesn't come back. Brady's probably hearing that and thinking too, because think about it. Why would Gronk even say that? I know, he has the media in his face, million things going on in his mind. But Gronk's already retired before. He almost thought about retiring again last year. Instead of being like, I'm just going to wait and decide on my future, it was pretty much just like, right away, I might still come back, even if Brady doesn't. To me, that's saying, hey, Tom, let's go. Let's get going a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to put the thought in your head that, hey, even though it would never happen, hey, bud, I want to be in this. You might still be home next year, but I might still be playing. I think he's trying to fuel a fire there.
Yeah, I hope so. And Tom, he even said it's a grind. He loves the time with his kids. He said he needs these few weeks to decompress. Same with Gronk. Let their body heal up, let them process everything.
Mhm.
I would be absolutely shocked. I see Donnie is coming on Donovan Smith, and man, I'm more disappointed in Donovan Smith than I am Wells. I mean, Wells is a backup versus Aaron Donald, and Donovan Smith I mean, Von Miller. He's not prime Von Miller anymore, but you expect better from Donovan Smith in that game. So I definitely agree. He did not play well.
And I watch all the Bucks games with my pops, and I literally told him before the game, I'm like, if we have any chance at winning this game, Donovan Smith has to have a great game. And he's like, I didn't even think about that. And I'm like, yes, because we're already banged up at center, even though Jensen's playing. He's probably 80, 90%, but he wasn't 100. And then at right tackle, you had an injured Wells. So you already, a couple guys injured. You really want to stand strong with the rest of your line. Marpet did that. To me, Kappa actually played a really good game too.
Yeah.
But then Donovan Smith, the guy you relied on all year, the guy who played so great couple weeks ago for a couple weeks stretch, just kind of got beat all over the place.
I love Cam Brate, but he's extremely limited in blocking. What one thing I keep hearing, it's a deep tight end class. So regardless of Gronk, I would imagine we lose OJ. He's free agent. I highly doubt he's come back. And even Brate, there's a chance. He's still signed, but if he won't restructure, he might not be back. So I would like to draft and at some point, not saying the first round, but like a sure enough tight end, someone that can block and catch, because we needed
I
to leave
agree.
open with Wells. But like with all our wide receivers banged up, we needed Gronk out running. So like if it was a first or second rounder, I would maybe like that third rounder or whatever. But I want like a true traditional tight end can do both. Not saying, as good as Gronk or anything like that, obviously, but like, Fryermuth, Pittsburgh got that dude. He was amazing all year. So I don't know. There's guys like that. I think we could find maybe second, third, fourth round, something like that. But like a true, because Brate and OJ are limited. They're both pretty good at catching. Well, Brate's really good at catching, but blocking's not their strong suit. Same with OJ. So I don't know. We could definitely that's a position we could upgrade for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. And I wouldn't mind. I'd love a tight end in the draft. I wouldn't even mind if they were a little more block heavy, honestly, than catch heavy. If we do bring back Gronk and Bray in
Yeah.
particular, because, and I could have been wrong, but I think I did read a Greg Allman tweet where it sounded like the Bucs pretty much promised Cam Bray if he reworked his deal last year that he'd be on the team this year in some capacity. So Allman was pretty confident about Bray's status. He kept saying, "We have one tight end heading into this year. It's Bray." But without Gronk and obviously OJ, I don't think there's any chance we bring him back. And him and Bray are pretty much the same. Obviously, OJ, their skill set's different, but in terms of what they bring to the game, they're really both just pass catchers, and
Yeah.
they could throw blocks here and there. But at the end of the day, Gronk's getting older too. You don't want to use him to block. You got to get to me a blocking tight end. And Donnie chimes in. All clear was our best blocker, and so Hudson was pretty decent at blocking as well. And I think that's the only reason why McElroy does stick around is his blocking. But Cody, what say you on Anthony Allclear?
Yeah, he was a good block. He was kind of the opposite of Brate and OJ. I don't remember why we let him go or what happened there, but I'm hoping. And if Gronk does retire, we don't sign OJ, and it's just Brate. I would not doubt that we do take a tight end. Within the first say 3 rounds or something like that. And it's probably a good thing. In Arians' system, the tight ends haven't been like heavily featured, but with Brady here, they have been more so than usual. So that's a position that we could definitely stand to get younger at. I mean, if Gronk comes back, it's probably for 1 year. Brate's getting older, so like to me, regardless. But like I said, I want a well-rounded, true tight end, one that's good at everything. Can block and catch. Maybe not elite right off the bat, but high upside type tight end, I think would be a good thing. And Gronk too, he missed a lot of games last year. Had the broken ribs or whatever it was. So I don't know. To me, draft or free agency, that's a position we need to address.
And the tale of the tight end under Bruce Arians since 2019's kind of been wild because in 2019, everyone had these expectations for the tight ends. They didn't really do jack squat. And then 2020 happened and Gronk started slow. OJ started fast. OJ ends up getting hurt. And then Gronk, ends up uh, balling the second half of the year, especially in the Super Bowl with 2 touchdowns. Then this year, like you said, everyone kind of had high expectations for OJ again because he balled before he got hurt. Then OJ never came back. Brait got a little worse in terms of hands, in my opinion, throughout the year. And then Gronk, like you said, he was oft injured, so that tight end position is a need. But yeah, all clear. Hudson, we had a couple guys on our team last year that think about how deep we were at tight end last year. We had Gronk, Howard, Brait, all clear, and Hudson. Obviously, Howard went down, so all clear and Hudson were there. But now we're bringing in Katz. Katz will ask you tight end position. Could you see us drafting the tight end in the draft this year? That's what we're talking about right now. We talked about Brait's probability of returning to the roster, although he's getting older. We talked about Howard probably leaving, and we talked about Gronk. He's up in the air at this given time.
Yeah, based on all those factors, even if Gronk does return, and I hope he does, and I think if Brady returns, he returns, and if Brady doesn't, he doesn't. But yeah, I could see us taking a tight end, absolutely, undoubtedly. I'm not going to say I'd be surprised if we didn't, but I could certainly see it in the cards. Especially, it looks like we might be getting some compensatory picks, at least one. Right?
Yep.
Sorry, Katz, I wasn't smiling at you. I read Donnie's comment down there. I was trying not to laugh out loud.
Well, and it really was something because I really thought, especially after the good start last year, that OJ, when he came back, that he would be able to pick up where he left off from the first few games of
Right.
or 4 games of last season. It just never happened, obviously, and maybe it does for him elsewhere, but obviously him along with others like Rojo and whatnot, it's just not gonna happen here, certainly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and like Cody said, not to chuckle. I had high hopes for OJ. I had an OJ jersey. Well, I still have one, and nothing against the Juice Man. I think the best outcome for OJ would be going to a team like the Colts who really need weapons and hoping somehow that he gets a boatload of targets and he somehow is able to manifest something with those targets because obviously he only Almond shares his snap count every Monday and he got down to the point of 10 snaps a game or 10% of snaps a game. So he could be utilized elsewhere and maybe that'll grow him. I'm not really sure. But before we get on to continuing Bucs talk, Jesus Montavo quick asks us from Facebook, how you doing, Jesus? He says, now who's going to the Super Bowl? I work with Jesus. He knows I'm a Bucs guy. Obviously that can't happen. I think it'll be Chiefs. Rams, but the one I want is Bengals 49ers. If we're being honest, Cody, what say you?
Yeah, I agree with you. And same thing. I would love the Bengals to see away, but I said a while back, I think Chiefs, that's a battle tested team. They're playing good ball. And the 49ers have had the Rams number, but man, I know Deebo Samuel's banged up, Trent Williams is banged up, and it is so hard to just repeatedly beat the same team. Like at some point, that's got to give. So, yeah, I said in our group chat, in fact, as soon as they signed Stafford, I said, in my opinion, that makes them a legit Super Bowl contender. He's, not saying Stafford's Tom Brady or anything, but he's, a massive upgrade over Goff, second yards and touchdowns this year, I believe. So, unfortunately, yeah, I think it'll be the Rams and Chiefs, but I would much rather. Hopefully, Cincinnati can somehow find a way, and they did beat the Chiefs earlier in the season, so it's not, whatever. But yeah, I see Rams, Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs win it all. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, I could see it too. Which hopefully the ass face Jackson Mahomes eats shit next time he tries to do the wiggle on a fucking piece of turf. I hate that. Well, we'll save that for another episode. Kat, what say you on your Super Bowl prediction?
49ers Chiefs. I know they've beaten them repeatedly. I think they beat them again. I think the 49ers are healthy enough. I think, the Rams, Yeah, the Rams certainly deserve to be here. I wanted to just mention that it might hurt for some. I was listening to this week. I'm sorry to go off topic, but 49ers Chiefs for starters. That talked about how well the Bucs didn't do this right and we beat ourselves. And I gotta say, I didn't agree with that take. I think the Rams were the better team on paper. Better team. Maybe if we were healthier, maybe it's a little closer. But they controlled the game. They deserve to be here. But the 49ers have a recipe to beat them. They match up better with them than we do, and I like the Niners in this one and the Chiefs in the AFC. So we'll get a rematch of 2 years ago.
Real quick, Donnie says, instead of drafting a tight end, what about resurrecting the fullback position? Not in Bruce Arians' offense, Donnie, in my opinion. He slings the ball, and even when we run the ball, you could put a tight end there for how little we use run packages with the fullback formation. Most of our running backs are ISO backfield or shotgun type handoffs, which really don't require a fullback. We'll give it to one of our X's and O's guys, Cody. Cody, what say you personally? In Bruce's offense, I don't see it happen.
No, I don't either. But speaking of the 49ers, they're about the only team I can think of that's like truly using a true fullback right now. But they're, Shanahan, he's just good offense, but amazing run scheme. He is super.
The Browns do too. I think the Browns do too.
Yeah.
The Raiders do also. The Raiders, I know, have one as well.
We're not real creative. I wouldn't hate it, but like our offense just isn't. And I don't mean that to, we've been the first ranked offense for like 3 years in a row now. But like, I think we could have better utilized a lot of the people that we had. And, Scotty Miller sweeps in and around. Like there's a lot of guys I would like to see more of. So no, we could. I guess they could, but I don't think we will.
Katz, what say you about the fullback?
Yeah, if you do that and you get a traditional fullback, you're basically using up a roster spot, whereas they're more likely to just use a tight end in that spot, not have to use up a roster spot for a designated fullback. So no, I don't see it happening. And yeah, the 49ers, not only that, but they have a darn good one as well. Juszczyk is a heck of a fullback. He was great with the Ravens and he's been great with the Niners. And like you said, their run scheme with him, the way they set up their offense, like I said, I think that in particular helps match up well with the Rams, and that's part of why they've had success. But no, I don't see the Bucs going down that road.
Now, a couple things happen. Next thing you know, not saying this will happen, but next thing you know, Gabbert or Trask is their quarterback. Well, then, maybe you could factor in the fullback if you turn to more of a run-first game plan, and you need to lean on the running game with one of those type of quarterbacks. But I don't think that'll ever happen because Bruce Arians did say if Brady happened, they'd look behind, what's behind door number 2. And we know that famous quote from when Jameis was a free agent and when they got Brady here, he kept saying, well, we're going to see what's behind door number 2. So, Katz, we'll start with you on this one. That, to me, right then and there says, hey, if Tom Brady does retire, we're going to look at other options before keeping it in-house. And I think he's serious about that. What say you?
He's absolutely serious, and that's nothing against any of the options in-house, but none of them are guys that you want to go into a season with as your starting quarterback. And maybe Kyle Trask becomes that guy at some point. Gabbert, certainly no. He's been in the league for, 10 years, 11 years, and he hasn't done it yet. He's not going to do it now. They would certainly be looking outside if Brady leaves.
Yeah, Cody, what say you?
Yeah, I agree. Arians is coming back next year. He's getting older. He, realistically probably coaches 1-2 more years. And I'm working on the assumption that we do re-sign most of our free agents, which I think we will. But, even without Brady, it's a stacked roster. If you can get like a Russell Wilson, a Derek Carr, or Deshaun Watson, somebody like that in here, there's no reason that we, not saying, we could compete. We would be a legit contender with one of those type guys. Even Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it's likely, but there's a few guys. Garoppolo might be free. Carr, like there's a few guys you could get with this roster and definitely compete. So, but yeah, I agree with Katz. Gabbert ain't it. Gabbert ain't gonna be it. I wasn't high on Trask, but I haven't seen him yet. Truly play. So who knows how he's developing, but makes me a little nervous that Bruce, Trask was like the third name I think you mentioned. He mentioned maybe he said Gabbert, Trask, then door number 2, but he wasn't like, oh, well, we're really excited about Trask or anything like that. So that, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but yeah, I think we would absolutely be looking to make a trade.
Well, the thing with Trask is too, I fully think with him, they really thought by drafting him, I think they really thought Brady would be here 2 years, in my opinion. And I think that they thought he'd be like a Jordan Love type, pretty much a full-on project. Like, they don't want to rush him in at all, because the last thing you want to do to a guy like Trask is throw him in there. He has a ho-hum year, and a year where the Bucs are expected to do a ton. And next thing you know, people are running him out of town after game 4 because we're 1-3 and he's had some ho-hum performances. Now, I'll tell you what, you mentioned a guy to me who I would really like on this Bucs team if we were to move on from Brady. And I know some people feel indifferent about him, but I would love, because to me, Aaron Rodgers is pretty much going to the AFC. I don't think Packers would let him go perhaps to the NFC. That's just my personal belief. And then Russell Wilson, I think he could get traded to the Bucs, but I think it would take so much to get him. I find it hard to believe like giving up that much. One guy who I would like to see here, I'd like to see Jimmy Garoppolo if we needed to move on, because he could win with the roster that's already in place to win. The Bucs have that roster for the most part, but now Donnie's saying Godwin will be gone. I disagree with that. Cody, will leave that one to you. I think Godwin will be here. I think Bucs are going to prioritize Godwin here, because the hell Bucs know if Godwin's gone, that really increases the chances of Brady not coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I think Light does whatever it takes to get Godwin. I mean, he could leave. So, and I know you mentioned it, Tones. Like, if Byron gets a job in Jacksonville, guys like Godwin, Kappa, OJ are all people I think, Rojo even, well, probably not Rojo because Jacksonville said it running back, but I think they'll make a run. But like, especially if Tom Brady comes back, I don't lighten them. They always seem to be good with contracts, not lowballing guys, giving guys what they want. So I think they make a run. I wouldn't hate your Jimmy G idea. I personally, he gets a lot of hate, but I like Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr has more
I love
upside.
Derek Carr.
Like I would not hate that at all. People look at his record, and like Oakland hasn't been a good football team, since he's been there, basically. And he was off to an amazing year this year before they had, their wide receivers going to jail, and it's just, crazy year. So, but who knows?
Cats, we'll ask you this one from Eric. Thanks for joining us, Eric. We do appreciate it. It is a little mini special shortened episode, but we will be back next week as well to do more off-season talking and whatnot, and whatever crew can make that. Eric says, do you think Bucs trade Russell Wilson or Watson or A-Rod? And we kind of just mentioned that. Me and Cody did. Cats, what say you? You think Bucs trade for any of those guys?
No, none of them. I don't see that. I really do think Brady's coming back, and even if he doesn't, I don't see us giving up the draft capital to trade for. Packers won't trade Rodgers in the NFC. We saw that with Favre. They were ready to trade him here, and then they didn't because they're pussies. Excuse me. They were not going to trade Rodgers to the hated Bucs now, and Watson, I don't even know what's going on there. I know they had wanted 3 first-round picks at one point, and all his legal status is up in the air. So, yeah, no on all 3 of those, regardless.
Here's
I will
one
piggyback. I want to piggyback quickly, Tons. I agree that I actually think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I'd be a little surprised if Oakland, Vegas moved on from him, because I don't know what their plan would be otherwise. Although if you got a new head coach, they often want their own guy. But yeah, he had a nice season. He had with some talent still, even with the guys that left, he did a nice job to get that team into the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. Again, though, he'd be expensive to acquire as well, and be surprised if they moved him.
And the 2 guys, and before I disagree with Eric's comment, don't mind rebuild if I have to. This team is not ready to rebuild right now, in my opinion. We have too many guys who are veterans, who are here to win, who are making big money. We just won the Super Bowl. The NFC's there for the taking. Seattle's down. The Saints are going to be down. The Packers are going to be down if Aaron Rodgers leaves. Boom, all right there. San Fran, they're looking to move on from Jimmy G. Who knows if Trey Lance is their man? And then the Rams sold their soul for this year. So to me, the NFC's there for the taking next year. You got to put all your chips in the basket. Now Eric's talking all crazy ideas. Cody, how about Baker Mayfield?
No way. I'd rather see Kyle Trask. I would. Maybe if they gave us a first round pick and Baker Mayfield, I'd try it. But no, I'm not high on Baker Mayfield at all.
Cats, here's one for you. How about Kirk Cousins? We'll go with Cats here. Now we're getting all the names out of the head. Next, we might.
Let me tell you, I actually, as a quarterback, I actually like Kirk Cousins. Obviously he got his career started by completely embarrassing us. But that aside, yeah, you like that? Boy, I didn't like that. Boy, look how far we've come since then. I actually like him as a quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. If you look at the numbers, you look at the Vikings season, he's not the reason why they had what did they win? 7 games, 6 games? They've been to the playoffs with him. He had some talent. I actually don't mind him. I mean, if Brady left and you told me Kirk Cousins was going to succeed him and we had the same talent at the skill positions, I wouldn't hate that at all. We could do worse.
I saw a thing that said the Vikings, the way they did that contract, they're basically on the hook for Kirk Cousins for, I forget, it's an astronomical amount of money, and it's like a dead cap hit. So there's basically no chance they'll be getting rid of Kirk Cousins for free, trade, nothing. Like even if they traded him, I read it would be like a ginormous cap hit. But I'm with Katz. I wouldn't, he's to me along the lines of like Jimmy G, not necessarily gonna, take over games for you, but he's probably also not going to lose games for you. If you got a good team,
he's better than Jimmy G. I like him better than Jimmy G. Yeah. I mean, he's put up, the Vikings offense put up a lot of points, and he had quietly a good year because the team was not good. And they were banged up too. I mean, Cook was out, and I think Thielen missed quite a bit of time as well. So yeah, I mean, I like him as a quarterback. I know some people might dislike him for their own reasons, but as a quarterback, I think he's a good quarterback and gets probably more flack than he deserves.
And I heard some crazy, and I know, before we only got about 9 minutes left. So after we go over some more Jimmy G talk and Eric's last QB recommendation, we're going to get into our favorite players and favorite games from this past season real quick. But heard a crazy stat on Jimmy G. He's 5-1 in the playoffs as a starter and 34-13 in the regular season, which I know wins aren't a QB stat, but pretty impressive nonetheless. And Eric's just getting wild now. How about Teddy Bridgewater? How about Jameis Winston? It's like, buddy, love you for viewing, but pretty soon you're going to be asking about how about Drew Stanton? And he was on our practice squad for the damn Super Bowl. We don't need him back here starting any football games. So, Katz, we'll start with you here. One player you loved from 2021. One player, like, who did you think stepped up in 2021? Who earned your fan favorite awareness, I guess, on this Bucs team?
I can only pick one, huh?
Just one guy who you thought rose to the scenes in 2021, and you're like, damn, I kind of love this guy.
Well, yeah, I guess I already did, but especially after seeing how rough it looked without him, I'm going to go Tristan Wirfs. I mean, just seeing what it looked like without him, I mean, we knew there would be a drop-off, and that's not to knock Josh Wells. I mean, it just shows how hard it is to fill the shoes of a guy that's such a special player who still tried to gut it out with that injury in the prior game and so badly wanted to be out there. I just love the hell out of that guy. What a pick that was. A home run by Jason Light. Amazing how many teams passed on him, and boy, am I grateful to have him, and I hope he heals up and is ready to go next year.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cody, what say you? Who's one guy who really won over your heart this year? Eric says Grayson. Katz went Wirfs. Who you going with?
A guy who I thought has been good, but really took his game to like the next level and is bordering on like elite top five is Jordan Whitehead. That dude, I mean, he really took his game to the next level. When he's in there, the run game is just so much harder. His coverage grade jumped up a lot, and he's just a tone setter on defense. That dude, when he comes, he's really coming. I mean, he really tackles, hits people. So, yeah, I really hope we find a way to get him back. I agree with Grayson. It was a real small sample size, though. So, and another guy that I liked in a real small sample size was Vaughn. It was only the last couple of games, but Vaughn showed me a lot in those last few games. His pass protection was pretty good. He had over 5 yards per carry. Had popped some big runs, caught the passes. So I was ready to move on from Vaughn, but those last few games, he showed me just enough that I'm looking forward to seeing, what he can be.
I'm going with Anthony Nelson. I think he brought on some good things, and I'm going with Grant Stewart as well. The special teams, Mr. Relevant, last pick of the draft. He was always flying around on special teams, making plays. I liked what Nelson did in the pass rush this year, and I wouldn't be, if JPP left and Nelson started, or if him and JTS had a timeshare over there, I wouldn't mind that at all to keep both those young men fresh, getting after the quarterback. And and Grant Stewart special teams is awesome. So just three more questions here, fellas, before we bounced out. Your best play, your most favorite play from 2021. I'll start off here, and it might not be my favorite, but it's in my head right now, and I always smile. Steve McClendon's interception, man. For some reason, when Big McClendon dropped back in coverage and he caught that ball and he went down, the team started going crazy. It was a primetime Monday night game. Everyone was, all wild up about it. When a big guy like that gets an interception in a blowout victory and the defense is clicking on all cylinders, the team's having fun, the Monday night vibes are going. That was just awesome seeing a big man interception. That one's in my mind. Steve McClendon, INT. Cody, what say you?
Play that sticks out to me is Winfield's interception versus the Colts, where he basically mossed Pittman Jr. there. I mean, that was just, there's obviously a ton of big plays, but that was just an incredible play. You see, you got a 5'10" corner jumping over a 6'5" wide receiver and just snatching the ball from him. I don't know, crazy, and it was a big play and a pivotal moment too. So I don't know, that play jumps out at me.
Yeah, Katz, what say you about favorite play? That was an incredible play, Cody. I was there. Seeing that in person was like, holy crap. All the Colts fans were like, holy crap. I was also at this play. Eric said Brashad Perriman game-winning touchdown. That was an incredible play as well, Katz. You got any that stick out to you?
Yeah, the Brashad Perriman one is mine as well. Is mine. If I had to pick a second one, since he said that, I think Brady had a play in the New England game where you just said, wow, how bad, like Chris Collinsworth commented on it. He's like, boy, you think Tom wants to win this game? Where he ran for about 7 or 8 yards to pick up a first down in the fourth quarter. So that comes to mind as well.
Now, 2 questions left before we got to run out of here. Like I said, Buccateers will be back one time next week, and then we'll lay more of our off-season schedule out. One player who you hope has improvement heading into the offseason and bust his ass this offseason, Cody, what say you?
It's got to be Devon White for me. Top 5 pick. He has flashed all the potential in the world. He's yet to put it together. Anybody being honest, this year was worse than he was last year. Gave up way too many catches, ran himself out of so many plays, and he'll repeatedly do that, and then he'll make one of his splash plays. That's just it's like mind-boggling, and I don't know what it is. He's got to, and even he kind of admitted to it in the press conference, said he's got to be more within the defense, don't go off script, and I don't know if it's like a film study thing because it's certainly not a physical thing. I mean, that dude. I mean, he can be the best spot linebacker in the league. He's just got to, and I think he knows. I think he'll look back and reflect. He led the team in missed tackles, missed numerous sacks. I think when he goes back and looks at this year, I think that's going to ignite something in him. He wants to be great, and he can be. So that's a player I really hope, reaches his potential.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's a beast, and we'll see if he's a beast when he puts it all together. And we've seen it at a couple times this year. I think, what was it against Washington? He had like,
Washington
what?
had like 18 tackles, couple sacks, just crazy. But then right after that Washington game, it was like a 3-game straight. He had like 6 tackles over the course of the next 2 or 3 games. I think it was like 4 versus Saints and 4 versus Carolina or something. Like you can't be having your top 5 middle linebacker average 3 tackles with 0 splash plays, no pass breakups, tackle for loss. So like you can't
I
have
agree.
that. He's got to. And when you watch him on tape, he gave up that touchdown, versus the Rams. Even the announcer me said, so that's his guy. Why is he going off his guy to rush the quarterback that he's not ever going to get anywhere near in that play anyway? And there was just too much of that, too much freelancing from him. But I mean, yeah, when he's on, he's on. He almost had 10 sacks a year before, numerous tackles for loss. So he can be that. That's, I don't know. I expect more he's top 5 pick. You've got to be that guy.
I agree, and especially, he's going to be looking for a big-time contract. I'm going to say our special teams unit as a whole, I hope improves this offseason, whether that's changing the special teams coordinator, which you might not want to do if you lose both Bowles and Leftwich because that's 3 new coordinators, or if you just change personnel with Suckup, Pinion, and Darden or whatnot. But either way, I want to change in special teams. Cats, real quick, let's get your player or thing to improve this offseason before we say our one big thing and bounce out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with Devon White as well. We saw how great he could be last season. Well, I guess 2 years ago now. Didn't match that this year. I have to go back in time and reminisce and compare it. I hope this happens. Warren Sapp had an incredible 97 coming out type of year, and then 98 he was not as good. And after the season, he said, "Wow, I watched myself on tape last year in 98. He's like, I was out of shape. I wasn't up to my standard. I'm going to be better." And the next year, he was just unreal. So I hope Devon White, has a similar type of bounce back that Mr. Warren Sapp did. I know that's a high bar, obviously, to put him up there, but if he could have anywhere close to that type of bounce back and reflection, and I have heard reflection from Devon White so far, which is encouraging. He's noticing, all right, I should have done this better. So already I'm starting to hear it, and that's encouraging.
I agree. All right, fellas. Last thing quick is I got to roll. One big thing, one walk-off. Cats, will start with you. Until next time, what you got for Bucs fans, my friend?
Don't be ashamed at all. It's disappointing, sure, that we're not, going to be, repeating. But again, it hasn't been done in 17 years, so it's not shocking to me at all. It was a really fun season. This team, showed that it was, did a great job defending their trophy. It didn't happen that way the first time. They gave themselves a chance. Didn't happen. Congrats to the Rams. They deserved it. And, as long as Brady comes back, and I really believe he will, I believe we'll be back in the tournament next year. And when you're there, you give yourself a chance. So hold your head up high, Bucs fans. It's, it's the end of one season, but it's not the end for this group.
I couldn't agree more, my friend. Cody, what say you? What's your one big thing to end this episode until the next one?
Heartbreaking way to end the season, but I'm with Cats. I really think Tom Brady's going to be back. Let's see who we draft, see what free agents we bring in. Tom can recruit some free agents. I see Eric's question. Yes, I do think the Bucs need to sign a veteran cornerback. A guy I was thinking is Chris Harris. His best days are behind him, but plug him into slot corner, nickel corner, or whatever. I mean, that would just be an immediate. No disrespect to SMB, but there's a guy. I can't remember if he won a ring with Denver or not. I'm thinking he probably did, but still this late in his career. Did. 1-year deal. You probably get him for cheap, veteran presence with the other guys, so that would be a great one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the offseason. It sucks. I'd obviously rather be in the Super Bowl, but I'm with Cats. I think Brady's back. You give me Brady back, I think we resign the majority of our free agents, and we'll be right back in the playoffs again next year.
I agree. I think our front office does what it takes, brings back the majority of the guys, free agents and whatnot. And I had a fun year watching Bucs football. It's going to be an interesting offseason, draft, free agents, etc. I guess my one big thing in walk-off will just be saying we're not going away You might not get all the Buccateers in every episode, but between breaking down some film, between draft prep, covering our schedule release, we're going to even do a couple lightning episodes, Bucko, Cats, and I. So just be on the lookout for everything and in between this off season, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week with some updates on the Bucs coaching situations, front office situations, comp picks, and whatnot. We hope JC Allen could join us again for that. And we hope to be back with Cats and Cody next week as well. On behalf of the Buccateers, I'm Tampa Tones. It's been splendid to be with you on a Thursday night. Everyone be safe, and as always, go Bucs.